one of the country's most influential newspapers mocking President Trump's choice for White House press secretary, suggesting that Sarah Huckabee Sanders does not look like the kind of woman he would pick. In an op-ed in the LA Times, the political columnist David Horsey writes this: by comparison, Sanders looks more like a slightly chunky soccer mom who organizes snacks for the kids' games. Unreal. Here to weigh in, our panel, Fox News contributor and radio talk show host Tammy Bruce, political science professor Dr. Jeannie Zaino, along with physician and political commentator Dr. Eugene Downey. Great to have all you ladies here.
Good morning.
I think we were talking about this commercial break. You read this piece, we can all agree it's disgusting. It's almost like, Tammy, if you are associated in any way with President Trump, anything is fair game. You can say whatever you want about them.
Yes, and it's not just Mrs. Sanders. It is also Melania Trump. It's Ivanka. It's Ann Coulter. It's Kellyanne Conway. We've seen this, of course, through the convention last year, through the primaries, et cetera. And this is, of course, you'd think they would have learned. This is about Washington. This is L.A. and New York. High-profile columnist Frank Bruni in New York. That with what we've been facing with Hollywood, sexual harassment, sexual assault, you'd think they would learn. But this kind of denigration is of the same sort. Either women are being sexually assaulted, or in this case, the insult is meant to degrade and humiliate and ultimately try to control. So it doesn't matter. Obviously, Mrs. Sanders is a lovely woman. And this guy eventually at the LA Times had to apologize. But it also had to go through an editor.
Right.
It's hard to believe that the entire system didn't know and didn't approve of this framework.
Yeah, Judy, who, as an editor, who reads this and says, you know what, yeah, let's print this in our paper. This seems like something that women are going to want to read.
It's beneath the LA Times. And to Tammy's point, the editor should have caught it if David Horsey, a Pulitzer Prize-winning columnist, didn't himself catch it before he put it in.
What do you think his motivation was?
You know, it's hard to know, and he did apologize. But I will tell you, I thought the Frank Bruni piece in the New York Times was far more insidious and almost worse. Frank Bruni did not denigrate her as a woman or talk about her looks, but what he did do was insult her intellect. He talked about the way that she speaks. And from my perspective, this is incredibly dangerous territory for Democrats to go down. They've done this before. It breeds resentment. If Democrats want to know why they didn't win in 2016 and why the House is so red right now, it's because people are resentful of elites on the coast making them feel like they are stupid and beneath them. And that's exactly, I urge everybody to read Frank Bruni's piece. Not that you want to give it that much attention, but it is that kind of resentment that Lee Atwater and others were able to play on in the 1970s and 80s, and they're reviving it again. Bill Clinton, to his credit, was one of the few Democrats who understood you have to speak to people. You can't speak down to them. Right. And Frank Bruni talks all the time about why don't people understand that the Trump administration doesn't have policies that are reflecting their needs. Well, you can't speak down to people and then suggest they're supposed to follow you.
And speaking of that piece, I think the biggest takeaway from this, Dr. Downey, is the reaction to the piece. Where is the outrage? You know, you think about women, take the party out of it, take President Trump out of it. The fact that she is a mother of three in probably one of the most difficult jobs other than being president of the United States, as women, particularly, why can't we rally together and say this should be off limits?
Okay, so my take is that I think it's sexism, plain and simple. People need to comment on her job that she's doing. It doesn't have anything to do with her accent. It doesn't have anything to do with the spoofs I've heard about her weight. Sean Spicer is overweight. Nobody commented on his weight. Sean Spicer's only 46. He looks older than stated age, with all due respect to Sean. But nobody would comment on how he looks. My problem with Sarah Huckabee Sanders is the following. I'm concerned about the level of her holding herself up as an evangelical, but yet Trump is accused of having, like, what, a 16% track record when it comes to telling true statements and mostly true statements. And she holds up what he's saying and she lies. Her cortisol level is rising. She's squirming as she lies sometimes. So as an evangelical, I feel like she reads a Christian devotional apparently every day before she gets up to speak in front of the White House press corps. So as a Catholic, I'm looking at her and I'm concerned about her upholding Trump's lies. So I get into what she's doing and her actions, which can be criticized, but not who she is. That should be off the table.
Tammy, I can tell you have a reaction.
Well, look, I think that all of this is about, as you've noted, though, that women are put in a position where the criticism against them is personal, and there's a reason for that. And it's for the left, for these liberals who do it, it's sending a message to their own base that if you step out, if you do not conform, you're going to be humiliated. And this is, of course, for them, it's a mistake because all women, we're used to that. Again, with this conversation that we've had, with the way that liberals have, of course, the misogyny on the left, it is a key. And the people that are expected not to come out next year to vote in most polls are the base for the liberals. And it's because those women, those people of color and gays realize that something else has happened here. The new news with Donna Brazile, what was going on politically. So if all you have is to attack women especially based on their appearance or whatever they think their weakness is, you are going to alienate, as you've said, the entire base and women in general. I think there's a revolution going on. This is where we become all sisters. And I think it's a very exciting thing. And so support Sarah Sanders and every other conservative woman because she now is representing every woman in this country.
Who's trying to be a mom and do a number of things.
A mom and a professional woman.
Quickly, does this backfire?
It could backfire, but let's just say, and I agree with Tammy, let's just say it goes both ways. We have a president who came out on the stump during 2016 and criticized Ted Cruz's wife for her looks, Carly Fiorina for her looks.
Right.
That doesn't give anyone the right, though, to attack Sarah Huckabee Sanders.
It doesn't give anybody any right to attack anybody. All I want to say is it's fair game on both sides. You cannot attack women for their looks. You have to deal with them in terms of their job performance on both sides.
It has to be their job performance. And it cannot be anything but their job performance.
Well, that's something at least the three of us here, of all different backgrounds, we can agree on.
And the president was criticized appropriately in those dynamics, including by myself. We all agree, and now we've got to stick with this because this is the future for our own families and our own work futures as well.
I agree. Some great advice, Tammy. Ladies, thank you so much for being with us. It's an important conversation to have. Thank you so much.